we would like to say hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Little Guys Home Technology live stream podcast. I'm David.
And I'm Abby, and we're excited to bring you this live stream after a 2-week hiatus. A little bit of Cubs camp, a little bit of the flu, but we're back and we're ready to go.
World champion Chicago Cubs camp.
Pardon me.
Thank you. The Little Guys podcast, Little Guys Home Technology podcast, is brought to you by AudioQuest, Integra, and
Golden
Ear, all of whom we would like to thank for helping us make this possible. So, the Little Guys is located at 19031 South Old LaGrange Road in Mokina, Illinois, just south of the city. Chicago's south, some say southwest suburbs. Easy to get to, right off I-80. You can't miss it. Come and check us out at the store. You can check us out at thelittleguys.com. You can email us anytime at info@thelittleguys.com, and you can call us at the store, 708-754-8844. We are open.
We are open Monday through Thursday from 10 until 6, Friday and Saturday from 10 until 5, and we're closed on Sundays.
Yeah, and we do make house calls. So, I mean, all over Chicagoland, including Northwest Indiana and Southwest Michigan. It's best to have some dialogue with us first. Let's make sure house call is the right thing to do. But we're glad to come out and check out your specific requirements, possibilities, look at your wiring if we need to, kind of do some basic stuff, looking while we're there and talking and kind of lay out some options. We do charge for the service based on where you're at, but it's relatively inexpensive, and it's typically refunded when we actually do an install.
When we do a job, right?
Yeah. So, but there's some people who just want someone to come out and take a look and see what they have and see their space and that kind of thing. The upside for us of you coming into the store is if you bring pictures or you do basic drawings, we can see what you've got, and we can show you the stuff that's available currently.
Well,
right?
I think that's one of the most amazing things about smartphones with cameras these days is that you used to come in the store and you tried to describe your room. Now you can just take a picture,
everybody's got pictures,
and bring it in,
yep.
And you can point to little spots in the room that are issues or whatever.
You can take videos.
You can also take videos,
right? Which look better than a lot of the videos that you used to take on the old VHS cameras and all that stuff.
And it's actually fun to come into the store because we're not your typical big box store. There's some really cool things set up in home-like settings, so you can experience how it would be in your own home. And also, just to give you some ideas.
Yeah, for sure. So today we're going to talk about if you're building a new home or remodeling a home or just maybe finally getting around to finishing that basement or something along those lines, completely remodeling a room, that kind of a thing.
Right. If you're building a new home, I don't know if they'll be breaking ground today. It's a little snowy out, but they will be breaking ground shortly on new homes.
Yep.
And there's things that you need to know before the home is finished.
So we'll take you through some of the basics. We'll take you through some of the options and kind of how it happens and how the process works. But first and foremost, you need to plan it. You got to sit down with us and plan it. You got to go over, what are all the possibilities? What are the things I can do? What are the things that are available to me? Can I just say, computer, turn on my lights and the lights turn on? Or is there...
First you have to change Alexa's name to computer, which you can do now. But, yes.
Or Google Home, if you want to do Google Home. But you need to be... you need to learn that those systems typically... you have to learn how they work. They don't really learn how you work. Right, so it's not like on Star Trek or whatever. It's you really have to learn how they operate. It's not they're learning how you operate.
Right, and it's not extremely difficult.
No.
If you don't bother to learn, if you don't read instructions or pay any attention, then it can be very frustrating trying to talk with the different devices.
But by themselves, they're really just they're cute. They're toys. They're neat. But integrated with a good control system. They're kind of fun. It makes a lot more sense. So, all right. So let's start with
one thing. I'm not going to say many, but there are builders out there who will say to the home buyer, everything's wireless now. You don't need to wire anything. It's all wireless. That is absolutely 1,000% not true unless you want a system that doesn't operate most of the time.
Yeah, the wireless thing is okay as far as accessing the control system. And having a good network in the house allows you to have good Wi-Fi and lets you access the system and control it wirelessly. But the system itself needs to have wires. The infrastructure, which is first on my list, the infrastructure in the design stage needs to be laid out so that you can grow and you can add on and you can change, but so that it needs to be extremely robust, because you have to kind of think about what's going to happen in the future. Are we going to get all of our cable signal, all of our distributed video and audio? Is all that going to come over the internet? It's possible. And if we have a weak infrastructure, it'd be like having the old 300 ohm antenna wire and trying to do the new, broadcast stuff. It just doesn't work.
Right.
It's not right.
Another thing is to consider is, are you going to have a cable system or a satellite system? Or are you going to put an antenna on the roof or in the attic and get all the local channels at the best resolution you can get? It's the most uncompressed signal there is. And then all the other channels that you desire, you would get from the internet, from different things like Netflix and Amazon and.
We'll get to all that. We'll get to all that. I think the key here is you need a network. You need a network, internal network in your home that allows for lots of different things. There's a lot of design considerations. One, you want good Wi-Fi throughout the house. Everybody in the house wants to be able to use wants to be able to use Wi-Fi where they can. They want to be able to access the components from wherever they're at. They want to be able to stream stuff on their phones and their tablets. So good Wi-Fi is critical.
Right, and you have to consider how many people are in the home. A younger couple starting out, maybe they have no children, maybe they have one child. Those children can eat up your Wi-Fi like nobody's business, and you have to plan ahead to have enough signal to accommodate everyone.
And it's secure Wi-Fi, which, of course, we can take care of. So you want it to be secure, because it's not just for indoors. You want to be able to access your gear and access your different music and change things from outside as well. You're sitting out on the deck or on the patio or walking around the yard. So all of those things are important. You want to have separate components in your network. You don't want the thing that your provider gave you, which is one box that is a modem, a router, a switch, a wireless access point, all in one little box, right? Because even if it's one big box now, it's not good. It's a bad way to do it. You want separate components where you can, or as much separate components as possible, given the specific provider that you have. And what happens is then a router is just doing routing, and a switch is just doing switching, and a wireless access point is just transmitting and receiving, or transmitting wireless access capabilities. It's specific pieces designed to do specific things so that they can do them well, instead of one box that's designed to do all of those things and does none of them well. So that's very, very important. So separate components in your network, and laying out a system that, again, gives everybody good Wi-Fi, that gives great network connections to every single TV location, to every single source location, to any place there's going to be a computer. You want that capability. You want to be able to have good signal throughout the home. And now's the time. Again, even if you're just remodeling the basement, or refinishing the basement, or adding on an addition, now's the time. We can put the wires to where they need to be, and we can get wires to wherever it has to go without major intrusion, and get you the right signals. So it's just a really, really important part of it. So networks are the key, and a solid infrastructure is the initial part of the design process that's really, really important. And a lot of people, and we're going to go over a whole lot of different things that you can do, but a lot of people don't do them all at once. They don't do them especially when they're building a new home. They've got lots of other things. Nobody ever says no to the tile guy. You always do the tile now.
Right.
You always do the cabinets now. But our stuff you can do in stages if you need to. And obviously the network is the part you don't compromise on, for sure, and the infrastructure. Audio distribution. So distributed audio throughout the house. There's a lot of things to consider. How do I want to distribute it? Do I want to be able to have different things playing in all different parts of the house? Are the kids going to want to listen to one thing and I want to listen to another, and my significant other wants to listen to something else, and then I want to be able to have something different playing outside on the patio? And I also want to be able to use my surround sound system in my master bedroom or in my living room or in my family room, wherever it is.
And sometimes you want to have most or all of it playing the same thing. You know, say you're having a party.
That's it. So those are all considerations in how we're going to distribute that audio. Do I want speakers throughout the house in boxes like in the old days where there was boxes everywhere? Do I want my speakers to be extremely discreet and you know, in the ceilings or in the walls? I will tell you that in-ceiling speakers have just about taken over the in-wall, in-ceiling thing. When we first started doing in-walls, it was about in-walls.
Right.
And now it's about in ceilings. It's almost everything's in the ceiling, up and out of the way, and the grills have become almost indistinguishable from the ceiling, almost there. And there are some where you can make the grill go away completely and be built invisible. But the reality is 95%, 98% of the speakers going in are going in the ceiling, and they are unbelievably high performance. Completely different than anything you've ever experienced. It's not like the speakers in the elevator or the dentist's office. These are true high-fidelity speakers that can be aimed and tilted. Origin, for example, you can put in the rough-in brackets and put in a grill and maybe not put speakers in the first 6 months that you move in. And 6 months later, come in, buy a speaker, snap it in place, and it can be a couple different sizes. It can be a couple different levels of performance. I mean, there's a lot of great choices. So. Audio distributed throughout the house as we're all getting back into music, right? And then where am I going to put all that music? Am I just keeping it on my phone? Or do I have it stored on a hard drive somewhere in the house? What am I doing with all that music? How am I storing it? Where am I cataloging it? What am I doing with it all? So, yes, now I know I have easy access to it, but I really want to be able to just be laying in bed and switch to, you know, some other kind of music. I don't want this anymore. I want something else, you know, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And to be able to control that from anywhere, that's a huge part of distributed audio. And whether it's indoors or outdoors, right? You want to be able to do all that stuff from all around. So a good distributed audio system is a pretty essential part of just about every new home being built in today's world. Right?
There's no reason not to.
Now there are some really inexpensive aftermarket or after construction options that are okay. I mean, you can do a Sonos thing, or you can do on another level. You up from that, you can do the Blue Sound thing, where you're adding music boxes to specific rooms, and as long as that's wired correctly and networked correctly, you can have distributed music that way. But you have the building a new home, remodeling a room, doing those kind of things. You have the opportunity to start from scratch. And putting in speakers in the ceiling and doing those kind of things is a much better option.
Right.
Certainly
And it's not that you can't mix the two.
Yeah, and you can mix the two if you want to. All right, let's go to video. You started on the providers, and the first thing you do is you determine your sources. Where am I going to get video from? How am I going to watch TV? Is it an antenna on the roof with uncompressed HD signal but limited to whatever's being broadcast over the air? Or do I want Comcast or Dish Network or DirecTV or, God forbid, Uverse, who's of course not even trying to sell you services anymore now that they bought DirecTV. They're focused on that. Am I going to do it streaming over the internet? Am I going to strictly use an Apple TV or a Roku or some device to stream different things like Amazon and Netflix and those kind of services?
And something to consider if you're building a house. Comcast has let it be known that eventually you won't have a box. It's all going to come over the internet. I'm sure that other providers will go the same way, which makes it doubly important that you have a good internet system in your home.
A good network.
Yeah.
No question. And then obviously you got to pick somebody who's got good internet service, who can provide not theoretical high speeds, but real high speeds delivered to your home, and then let you have that throughout the house. And that's another part of using the separate components, is that while there's a theoretical high speed getting into your house at this point, is it being distributed through the house that way?
Right.
And that's a big deal. So how am I going to distribute video throughout the house? put HDMI wires in all the walls? Am I going to put Cat 6, Cat 7 in all the walls and do some kind of HT-based T or balance system? How am I going to get that video to all those places? Am I going to centrally locate all my cable boxes? Is there only one cable box and some minis? There's all these things come into consideration, all determine how the house should be wired.
Yes.
Right? We can kind of wire in anticipation of any of them. But what do we need to do? How are we going to use it? How are you going to use it? And how are we going to make it? Are we going to make it happen?
Right. You can say, okay, here's a family room, and we're going to have a home theater system in here, and we just have to get internet and everything just in here. We're going to have all the equipment. We have a cabinet. We're going to have all the equipment in here. And a lot of people these days are saying, I don't want all this equipment, staring me in the face. I want it in a closet, down in the basement,
Yep.
somewhere else. When you do those types of things, which absolutely can be done, there are wires and cables and things that need to be put in place beforehand.
All right, let's have the electrician in advance put the outlets up where the TVs are going to be on the wall.
Right.
Instead of coming in after the fact.
Right.
And adding the outlets and stuff like that. And then you want easy control. You want to be able to enjoy any of that stuff from any of the rooms you're in. How do I do that? What kind of matrix switcher do I need? Do I need a matrix switcher? Am I just going to have just a bunch of local independent little systems? How am I going to do it? Those are the things that come into the design phase. That's where you sit down with the system designer and you go over it and you figure out the different options and what do I need? What do I want? I sort of call it creating a wish list. I mean, it's the first step is you think of all the cool things and all the stuff you'd really like it to do. Mm-hmm. And then you look at that from a realistic budgetary standpoint and say, can I afford to do all this stuff now? And if the answer is yes, that's great. If it's, I can do this part now, but I need to do this later, that's fine too. But those are all the things you take into consideration when it comes to that part of it. And it's actually a fun process because you get to, go to the drawing board and create what you want to create and have it be the way you wanted it to be. So, control and automation. There's so much everyone talks about smart homes and home control and automation and talking to the system and pushing a button and those kind of things. The heart of that, to do that correctly, requires a very good control system. There are dozens and dozens of control systems out there. There are 2 or 3 that we've narrowed the focus to that we feel work really well and that are reliable and that we trust will be there. And the companies are dedicated to the consumer channel. There are companies who get real interested in the consumer channel and then leave and just do commercial stuff,
right?
Or whose focus is strictly commercial. So that's on us to help find and narrow the focus for you and find the companies that we think really make the most sense. Control 4, extremely robust, extremely flexible, great relationship with lots of vendors out there who bring us the products we need to interact with your control system. Savant, again, good relationships with a lot of the vendors that are out there. Very, very, very intuitive, very easy to use, and totally dedicated to the mid to high end home as far as getting a system in there that makes sense and is easy to use. And whether it's a single room control or it's an entire home, what are some of the things you can control throughout the house? Lighting,
HVAC.
Right. So let's do them one at a time. Let's do
Okay.
lighting. So lighting, what does that mean? Well, you really don't have to have light switches in the room anymore, or you don't need as many light switches in the room anymore. You can have one button. You don't have to have any if you don't want, but
right.
you could do it off from your phone or a tablet or any kind of device like that, any smart device. You can have a keypad in the wall that sets scenes or does individual lights. You can do it a lot of different ways. You can set so that when you're going to bed, you hit one button and all the lights throughout the house go to a certain spot. You can set it from an economic standpoint, you can set it to save energy, where no matter what happens, your lights only go to 85% or 90% of their total brightness capability. Mm-hmm. You can make it so that, even if someone comes in a room and turns a light all the way up, it only goes up to 85%. Very tough to discern. In fact, the human eye, it's been determined, can only tell about when it gets to more than 15% difference, 16% difference. So there's, a lot of things to consider like that. Safety. and we'll get into that in a little bit. But there's a safety perspective, turning on lights as you're approaching the house because you forgot to turn them on. Did I turn off the lights as I was going to bed? Do I want all the lights to light up in a certain path?
That's what I was going to talk about. We live in a ranch home, and, I always say, well, okay, the scenes are nice where you can set, the lights at different levels for different, like a party mode or, a romantic mode. Actually, you can just different scenes, like you want this light to turn off and that light to, stay on and those kind of things. And
or dim this one to a certain level.
Right. And, to me, it was always, I would like the scenes, but I'm not so lazy that I can't get up and turn on or off a light. However, where the really cool part of it comes in is that you can control these things from wherever you are in the world.
Yeah. So if you're not there and you want to make it look like someone is home, you can turn lights on and off. You can move things around a little bit. You can have preset scenes that do that at certain times. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to do that. It's pretty cool. And even in our situation, when we get up in the morning, if we're going into the bathroom to take a shower or whatever, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's at least 4 light switches that have to be on or off that you have to change, and a fan switch. Whereas I could have just hit a button when I hit one button and walked into the room.
Yep.
So while the plumber's pipes leak, we haven't quite gotten to that yet.
Well, you realize it's been 15 years since we did that addition.
We just didn't design it right in the first place. Now we're going to have to use some of the retro stuff.
Well, and here's something, if anyone's listening and is building a home or remodeling, the reason you come in here earlier, first of all, is there's a lot of confusion and sometimes it's hard to understand it. So, maybe a few trips in. But the second thing is the builder will say to you, we're putting in a tub tomorrow. You better pick out a tub. Did you find your tiles? Because we're doing tiling tomorrow. And you're just like, you have to drop everything and go out and pick out the next thing. It was exhausting.
Right. Let us plan ahead. We'll work with your builder. We'll work with your architect or designer. We'll work with anybody you want. We'll work directly with you. We'll go over the options. We'll make sure we're there when we're supposed to be there. We'll react to their schedules as needed, and we'll make sure that things are getting done in the proper order. So lots of cool stuff with lighting. There are blinds and shades that are all motorized treatments that are wired or wireless, and can set scenes with those as well. You can have a morning scene and a night scene. When you know the sun at 1 o'clock, the sun's at a certain spot, you can set it so that at 1 o'clock the blinds go to a certain height or certain spot on the window. I mean, there's lots of cool things you can do. They can have total room darkening. You can have partial room darkening. Just kind of whatever you want. And the blind thing has gotten much more affordable. And the choices of colors and styles and stuff it just keeps going and going and going and going.
Yeah, that's the big thing. I mean, I think it used to be sort of boring, and now there are like plenty of choices in styles and colors. And
so let's do safety. Cameras, right? You can have cameras throughout the house and on the outside of the house, and you can see those cameras when you're home. You can see them when you're away. You can not see the cameras, see what those cameras are seeing. You can see that video when you're there or not there. You can access it from anywhere you have an internet signal, anywhere in the world that you have an internet signal. You can do all kinds of cool stuff security-wise. There's different ways to record it and keep it, or you can just have it be live and do it when you want to see it, look at it. So a lot of different choices when it comes to cameras. And cameras is a place where the scale of economy is really, really. I mean, it used to be that good cameras were $800 to $1,500. Period. No discussion. If you want a camera where you could read the person's face or facial characteristics, where you could see.
Well, that's the thing, and you see that on the news all the time. Here's a surveillance camera picture of this suspect.
This blurry blob.
You can't tell who
it is or how it is. Right. So today's cameras started as little as $150 to $200 for decent cameras. To they still go up to $400 and $800, but they're so much better than they were. And they're wired differently than they used to be, and they work a little differently than they used to. But really, really good cameras out there for both day and night, so no issues there.
Right, and systems that you can buy for $299. It includes 4 cameras and a.
Yeah, that's
that's sort of like getting a Mr. Microphone.
That's like buying a 15-year-old concept, and
right.
That's no good.
It's just not going to do it for you.
Door locks, control access from anywhere. You can let you're not there and the plumber shows up, and you're comfortable with him. You could let him in,
or her,
let them in, I guess. And you could you never have to have a key. You can just punch in your code and let yourself in and out or whatever. I mean, there's a lot of really cool
that's
things.
One of the things that I love. The panic when you slam that door and you don't have your keys with you.
Right.
I just locked myself out of the house. I never have to feel that way anymore.
Right. And then tied in the lighting we talked about for, appearance of being home when you're not there and changing it up so that no one's sure if you're there or not there, that kind of thing. That's really simple. You can control HVAC, so the heating and air conditioning, you can program it, you can set it, you can control it from your phone or an iPad or wherever. You're getting ready to leave work and you want to have the air come on, you can do that. You can turn the heat higher. There's so many different things you can do. No wasted energy. Save a ton of money on heating and air conditioning bills, and simple. You do not have to be a rocket scientist. Most people have a tough time figuring out their thermostats. With this, it's extremely simple. It can take you through the paces, and whether you have the basic thermostat panel or you have the more elaborate now touchscreen app-like panel in your home, you can have that duplicated on an app on your phone, on your device, tablet, whatever it is, and have it be with you at all times, kind of a thing. Some of them will even warn you, hey, it doesn't seem right. The furnace doesn't seem to be operating exactly right. Those kind of things.
The temperature has fallen below,
right.
X degrees or something.
There's a million other things that you can do.
You're away from home and your kids just turn the thermostat to 82,
Right, and that you can control. So the hot tub, the sprinkler system, the pool.
The pool, right.
There's a million different things you can do out there, a million different options to add on. We're not going to cover them all. So all of these options can be integrated with a single control system, whether it's Control 4 or Savant. It's simple to use. It's accessible from any smartphone, any tablet, at home or away, and again, very intuitive, very, very, very simple. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to make this stuff work. You need to be a semi-rocket scientist behind the scenes to make it work. We'll take care of all that.
Right.
But to make the system operate is very simple and very intuitive.
And you know what?
You can tell your grandma who's coming over, your mom or your dad or whatever.
Sure.
Here's the touch panel.
Right.
Here's what you do.
It's really easy to operate. Right. We've had some people who have these systems, and they can be used. But in the family room, you just want a remote control.
Yeah.
To control things. Absolutely available.
Handheld traditional remotes are absolutely still one of the possibilities of a way of control.
Right, and add those to those systems and no problem whatsoever.
So there's multiple phases to the actual implementation of the project. There's pre-wire, there's pre-finish, there's final install, and there's instructional sessions. And obviously we talked about the most important part initially up front is the design session where you're kind of banging the ideas together and figuring that part out. So how does this happen? Well, you can call us at 708-754-8844. You can email us at info@thelittleguys.com, or you can stop in at the store. It is best to make an appointment if we're at that level and trying to do those kind of things, so we can make sure we set aside the time to go over everything. Mm-hmm. We can come to you as well. It helps to be here at the store so we can show you examples in real life settings of using the lighting system, of using the control systems, of seeing the cameras, of seeing how the network components operate, of the speakers in the walls and in the ceilings.
Of listening to the different ones and
then,
seeing,
of course,
how
of
they
listening
sound.
And the rest. If you have a copy of your plans or drawings, or if you make your own little drawing or things that you're thinking of, kind of a thing, then that's fine. It's extremely helpful. The more of that stuff you have, the better it is. Once you determine the options you want to include, an overall scope of the project, the design phase is next. And then it's kind of on us. Our system designers will lay out a plan with all of your ideas in mind, giving you a concept of how much it will cost and what it will do and how it will do it. Creating realistic expectations is an extremely important part of the whole project, and making sure that your expectations are clear and in understanding your desires, knowing what it is you want it to do. I mean, that's really, really important. And it's the key I think, the key to long-term system enjoyment, to being able to have a system for a long period of time and really enjoy it. And it's the key for us to being able to design something that does exactly what you want it to do.
Yes.
And maybe a little beyond. Maybe we build in a little anticipation of things that could happen later. But let's talk about that. Let's talk about having that infrastructure in place and make it make sense. So our primary goal is to make it easy to use, simple to operate, make it as reliable as possible, and give you the ability to grow and change as new changes come up, as new things get thought of. As this world of technology is faster than it's ever been. We talked about this the other day. We'd pick out a group of products, whether it was speakers or receivers. You'd sell that same group of products for 2 years, 3 years, very little changes.
Yep.
Right. And the world has changed. The world changes much faster today. So you need to be able to adapt. And again, that's part of that infrastructure. So the Little Guys Home Technology store is located 191st on LaGrange Road, where Mokina meets I-80. We're always available on the web, thelittleguys.com. You can email us anytime at info@thelittleguys.com. You can call the store at 708-754-8844. You can interact with us that way. You can stop in the store. We're open Monday through Thursday, 10 until 6. Friday and Saturday, 10 until 5, closed on Sundays. And again, we'll come to your house whenever. Just let us know, and we'll work that out. There's more to it. There's a lot more. We can get to it in future podcasts, but I really think that the basics are there. You need to come on in and let's share ideas, share concepts, and share the technology that's
absolutely
can make our lives easier, safer, and a lot more fun today. All right, I think we're out of here.
Okay.
You ready?
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.